Ahead at the international desk, US officials suspect Russia hacked into the Democratic Party's emails. A suicide bomber in Germany is linked to ISIS, and Prince Harry opens up about his mother's death. Welcome, I'm Lynda Kinkade. We begin in Philadelphia. Democrats revving up for their big week. Their convention opens in just a few hours. The theme tonight, United Together. But you wouldn't guess it if you listened to a meeting of Florida delegates a short time ago.
Settle down. Everybody settle down, please.
That was the chairwoman of the Democratic Party raising her voice over boos and jeers. Turmoil at the convention was set off by an email leak that the Clinton campaign says was carried out by the Russians. CNN contributor Jill Dougherty joins us from Moscow, and our Evan Perez is in Washington. First to you, Evan. According to US officials, this hack was part of a wave of Russian cyber attacks. What are your sources saying?
Well, we've seen a lot of activity, according to U.S. officials, by Russian intelligence trying to break into and steal information, not only from political organizations like the DNC, but also think tanks here in Washington that, ironically, they publish a lot of the information that they gather. However, the intelligence agencies always want to get more. They want to know who people are talking to, where that information is coming from. And so we've seen a lot of this activity. We've also seen a lot of activity by the Russians trying to break into non-classified email systems at the White House and at the State Department. I'm told one reason why U.S. officials believe the DNC intrusion was the work of Russian intelligence is because they've seen some of the signatures, some of the same activity, some of that appears to point to some of the same groups that carried out some of the earlier hacks that we've seen.
Okay, Evan, just stand by for us. I want to go to Jill Dougherty for some of the reaction from Russia. This is certainly intriguing claims that two Russian intelligence agencies are behind this hack. What are Russians saying there?
Right. Well, Lynda, the Kremlin is not directly commenting on this. Dmitry Peskov, who is the spokesperson for President Putin, was not commenting, but he did cite comments by Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who categorically denied it. So I guess you can say that's tantamount to a denial. And certainly that seems to be across the board. Nobody really at this point is saying that they know what happened or who did it. And even this, the idea that it was done by the Kremlin to help Donald Trump is a big question mark as well. I mean, we can talk about this, but certainly here in Russia, the media, I'd have to say, have been pretty friendly to Donald Trump, but could they actually do something that would directly help him? After all, it's hurting Hillary Clinton, there's no question, hurting the Democrats, but let's say saying that President Putin is on your side and trying to help you could hurt Donald Trump. That's not exactly a great advertisement these days in the political context that exists in the United States. So who knows how this would ultimately affect things.
What do we know about the relationship between President Putin and Donald Trump, Jill, given what President Putin has said in the past?
Well, it goes way back, not necessarily directly with President Putin, but Donald Trump has tried to build hotels here in Russia. Some of the people who are on his campaign were involved in business in the old Soviet Union and the beginning of independent Russia. Remember, Donald Trump actually ran the Miss Universe contest back here in Moscow in 2013. So he's been around, and certainly the Kremlin knows him as a businessman. Now, as a politician, they probably don't know. It might be interesting for them to find out, and some of those leaks and emails seem to be almost opposition research that the Kremlin might be interested in. So the relationship goes back, I think you're referring to that time when President Putin, at the beginning of the campaign, well, let's say back in December of last year, said, oh yes, Donald Trump, interesting man, interesting politician, and glad to hear he wants to improve relations. And that's kind of where a lot of this news stuff began, that it was interpreted that Putin was coming out on the side of Trump, and then Trump said, thank you very much, I like the compliment, and I like you too. So that's where it's come from.
Right, okay. Jill, just stand by. I just want to go back to Evan. What does this say about the Democratic Party email service? Are they stepping up security?
What it says is that it was really, really bad. It was woeful. And it showed that there really wasn't enough attention being paid to security. We know, for instance, from talking to officials, that the Russians didn't stop here. They tried to break into the Republican National Committee. They tried to get into the campaign emails for the other campaigns that were involved over the past year, and they did not succeed in getting through. So the DNC is the only one that appears to have been breached, and we do know that they have now hired security companies to come improve that security, but the Russians, if indeed it was the Russians, whoever these hackers were inside the DNC system for about a year. So that's a long time. So we expect a lot more emails to be released between now and November.
Well, I'm sure we'll speak again about this. Evan Perez and Jill Dougherty, great to have you both with us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, let's get a better sense of how these investigations are playing out on the convention floor. Hala Gurani joins us from Philadelphia. Hello, another email scandal plaguing Clinton. Not a great way to start the week.
Not a great way because it's a distraction, because the campaign, the Hillary campaign, wants this to be about unity. Bernie Sanders, her rival during the primary process, will be addressing delegates and supporters here this evening. They are hoping for a very passionate endorsement, and they really want Bernie Sanders delegates. And he performed very well during the primary process to support Hillary Clinton so that she has as many chances as possible in November of